So welcome everybody to supporting our visitors in an online environment. We are offering this workshop as a tool to support chapters in better visitor conversion. So a couple things, I'm going to ask you all to please unmute yourself because this is a highly participatory workshop. I'm also going to ask you to put your cell phone somewhere not nearby, or just basically get rid of the distractions so that we can have a really useful dialogue that drastically changes the results you're getting with your visitors. Get them producing more referrals, get them coming back, get them wanting to apply. Some quick introductions for everybody here. Just wave really quickly because we see your name at the bottom of the screen. I'm just going alphabetical by chapter. So I want to start with Roseanne Kramer from Champlain Connections in Burlington. Hello, Roseanne. From our St. Albans chapter called Prestige BNI, we have Julie Phillips. Hello, Julie. We have three folks here from Queen City BNI. They're in Burlington. Erin Perrin, give it a wave, Erin. Hello. Molly Lannon. And Stephanie Guerreri. There we go, Vic. From Shelburne BNI, we have Diane Ravenscroft. Hello. And from the Masters BNI, we have Steve Hartman. Excellent. All right, so stay involved, stay participatory, and if you have some background noise, you can just mute yourself, although I will do it too. And don't mind me looking over at the other screen. I moved all of your images to my other screen, so I could take notes on this screen and kind of be looking at the screen. All right, so intro. We, all of us here on this webinar, we all know why we attend BNI meetings. I mean, we originally at first, it was because we wanted referrals and to grow our businesses, but over time we've added things like friendship and education and professional development to the reasons why we come to weekly meetings and why we stay. When we consider our weekly meetings, we want meetings, right? Our weekly meetings, we want our meetings to be organized. We want them to end on time. We want them to be fun and interesting. And we want to get results. We want to see our weekly meetings move our businesses forward. And one of the things about us and our mindset about our weekly meetings is we all come to our meetings with a giver's gain mentality. So we're listening to each other's weekly presentations and feature presentations with a mindset of how am I going to help others in the hopes that they're all thinking the same thing. However, what a visitor wants at our meeting is very different. What they expect from their experience is different than what we expect. And my first to get this going is why? Why is what our visitors expect different from what we expect? And just start feeding information in here. What is different about visitors than us when it comes to our meetings?
They don't know what we're about, really, or a lot about what BNI truly represents and can do for them, as much as someone that's been in it as long as.
Well said. What else?
They don't know who else is in the room. They haven't established relationships with anybody else there yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I feel like they do expect to promote their business, but they don't realize the resources that will be available to them and in a meeting.
Nice. Anything else?
I was thinking about commitment. They don't necessarily have the same degree of commitment that we do.
Yeah.
They could be just exploring as a visitor as opposed to being intentional.
Nice.
And I think if they've networked in other avenues, they have preconceived notions about what networking is.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah.
Cost versus value.
Say that again.
Cost versus value.
Oh, there we go.
I didn't understand that I had a sales team that was ready to work with me and for me when I first explored BNI. So I think the concept of really actively promoting your business might not be understood. That a visitor might go thinking they're there to say, here's who I am. They might not realize they're training the group to go do the same thing.
Yes. And these are all really important because everything you've just shared is different from us. We know what our chapter is and what our chapter is about. We know what BNI can do for us. We know who else is in the room. We have established relationships. We realize the resources available to us. We have the commitment. You seeing, and all of these things you just shared create a huge rift between our experience and their experience. And one of the things that we accidentally do in our memberships is we don't create a really healthy environment for our visitors, because first things first, we haven't really given it much thought about what makes a visitor so different to us. So I'd like to move on to just what today is all about. Today is about discussing what they do need. And I want to address visitors who have the opportunity to apply for membership. We are always glad, and I know I'm talking to the right room for this, we're always glad to have people at our meeting, moms, dads, clients, members from other chapters. We love having people at our meetings, but today's workshop is about creating an environment that encourages these local professionals who could apply to apply. We want them to take that step because we've met their needs, we've met their expectations, and actually today's workshop is about meeting and exceeding their expectations. So they want to partner with our businesses, and by Givers Gaining, help us out. Also, this workshop is about from the perspective of BNI online meetings or online environments. We as chapter members know how to create an environment in person. We've had years and years of experience of meeting our visitors' needs and expectations when we get to see them face to face. But this new online environment is something that is obviously new, not just for all of you, but for me as well. So that's what this workshop is about. We're talking about visitors who could apply, and we're talking about the environment we create online through the BNI, our weekly online meeting. So let's move on to the next big question. I'm going to scroll down. Again, please, I know I'm taking notes in this document. If you want to write something in it, go for it. I have zero problem with that. That's why I shared the link with you all. So the next question is, having stated what what divides us, let's talk about why they come to our meetings. Because again, it's different from why we come. Why does a visitor come to our meeting? Bring it on.
Someone
They
they
were
know.
invited.
Oh, say that again.
Because they were invited.
Yeah. Someone they knew invited them.
Yeah. What else?
I think that they, even when they get the invitation, I think most of the people have a concept that somehow they're going to grow their business. Even as a visitor, I think they have that idea because, you know, when we explain that we're inviting them to a business meeting, but a lot of times then the conversation, at least with the people I've invited, they know me well enough that they know I've been talking about BNI for a while, and so they know that it benefits my business, and that's the reason I'm in it. So a lot of times they think that right off the bat.
So they believe that they're going to grow their business. Yep.
I think sometimes it's just pure curiosity.
Yeah.
Ah.
Whether they've never experienced it or they did in the past or they did in another state, and they just are curious as to what it's all about now.
Nice.
Especially online.
Why else? It's funny.
Because they want something.
Yeah, they want
something, or they need something, and they're wondering if BNI can provide that, whether they even know what that want or need is.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. And a break from a break from routine. Yes, I love that.
Sometimes it's simply because they're new to the neighborhood.
Yep. Now think, it's funny, you've almost said what I'm looking for in terms of like the base reason. Again, these are people who could apply, not when I invite my sister or a BNI member from another chapter. A visitor, a small business owner, is going to come because they were invited, but really what's in it for them?
Get their name out. Get better known.
The exposure.
Yep. Which results in?
Referrals.
Which result in?
Sales.
Huh?
Money.
Money.
And you know what's interesting? Any small business person will put in the
What just
time
happened?
and the money if they think an activity will change the future of their business. Okay? Any small business would effortlessly come up with the money and the time to be a member of BNI if they thought they were going to make money hand over fist through a membership, right? Because they don't have the connections in the group, they don't have the commitment, they don't have the networking skills. But if they believed that your chapter was a solution to that, they would do that in a heartbeat. Okay? So let's talk about what are they wanting as a result, as part of their visit to your chapter. And this is kind of a repetition about why, but I want to talk about want versus needs, okay, for a visitor. And I think there's a bit of overlap here. The why they come to meetings and what do they want. And they want that break from routine. They want something that is risk averse. I like that risk averse statement. They want referrals. They want exposure. So I feel like I should skip this question and go to the bigger question, which is what do they need from us? We know what they want. I'm skipping this question right here. Bam, gone. But what does a visitor truly need from us? Now I did put 2 answers in here. You can see one says for applying to be easy. If they're going to apply, they want that to be as easy as humanly possible. So I did put the link to our website, and I also put an image for the QR code that we have. So anybody could take a picture with their phone and it takes them right to the website. Okay. And I also put for payments to be easy. So I put a link to the payment page. And also if they want a payment plan, they can contact me. So I feel like those are important things to share. But let's keep this conversation going beyond these 2 things. So a welcoming experience, friendly, approachable people, non-intimidating experience. And they do need that. If they're going to get their wants, they have to have a welcoming experience. What else do they need?
They have to feel comfortable.
Yep.
With the people that they're ultimately thinking about joining to be with every week, possibly.
Yep.
I think they need to have some kind of connection. It's not always the person who invites them, but they need to feel some kind of connection. Even though it's business, I think they need to feel some kind of personal connection with someone. And I think that's one of the things I know, at least for our chapter, that we're having a harder time doing online than in person. Because in person, everybody in our chapter, and it's because we focused on it over the last year and a half because we want to be like Shelburne, is making all of our visitors feel really welcome. We set up one-to-ones with our visitors, different things like that, but not being in person. The open networking is it's definitely not. And then after the meeting, we're still working on having it being cohesive, moving visitors from the main room at the end of the meeting into that visitors breakout room.
Yes.
And it doesn't, and some of it's technology. We've put people over there and somehow they'll bounce back, like different things have happened.
Right.
So we're working on those, but it's much harder to make that connection for us.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what we're going to get to that. We're going to get to the what do we do questions in a minute, but I couldn't agree more. What else do visitors need?
They need to be included in the meeting.
Agreed. What else do they need?
I think they
A sense of belonging.
Nice. Oh, I heard somebody else speak.
I think preparation is really important because I know that I've been in our meetings where, for whatever reason, whether it was nerves or something else, a visitor spoke when the members spoke, whether they weren't listened or prepped, and they were embarrassed. They were self-conscious when they figured out, uh-oh, I wasn't supposed to talk right then. So, you know, enough information to feel prepared and not self-conscious.
Nice.
I think that they would need to know the WIFM, what's in it for them. And I think that kind of goes to what Roseanne was saying about, you know, that personal connection. Is that the one that, or the professional connection? How the different people in our group, even though they're going to that breakout room, that might be with two businesses, you know, or a couple of people that maybe doesn't directly reflect or would be in their contact sphere kind of thing. And obviously without getting into all that explanation, but really, you know, defining how, oh, you know how you just saw so-and-so in the meeting, you two should definitely like set something up to talk kind of thing. And like, how that would benefit them being in that different, having those connections. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I'm following.
I think we have to be strategic in those rooms, the, you know, breakout rooms in the beginning of the meeting and then the breakout room after. We have to be very strategic because we were doing it in person. So we just have to figure out how we do it online. Our visitor host team, I think, is doing a phenomenal job of getting those breakout rooms set up and getting people in. It's just, we need to be even more vigilant about, as we would have in the meeting, hey, visitor, sit next to this person. Hey, visitor, talk to this person. We have to
my fire
almost
alarm's
hold their
going
hand.
off. I'll be right back.
Neil's cooking.
Okay.
Is Neil cooking again?
It smells like burnt.
So I was just saying strategic hand holding in virtual rooms, you know?
Yep.
I don't know how best to say it because we're usually leading the visitors to people.
Do we have, oh, I'm sorry, were you finished? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I just almost dropped my computer.
Oh. Don't do that. Do we have a PDF of the online agenda the way we did for the meeting agenda to be able to send out to the visitors when they get the link for when they're going to join? Or with the weekly handout, I don't know, something like that.
I love it.
That's, I don't know if it's close enough, but that would help them to understand, like, partially what Diane said, because it is harder to me, and I'm assuming that for a lot of people, it's harder to pay attention throughout an entire Zoom meeting, 90 minutes, than it is in person.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
It is.
And it takes a different kind of energy. So it's easy to miss when the president says that the members are going to do their weekly presentation. So if you're subbing, because they do all say it, I've been on plenty of other chapter meetings, they're all saying it, but it's hard to pay attention to every single thing in the meeting. If they had that agenda, that'll help them kind of to know what's going on, even though they don't know exactly how it's going to look.
So I think that's a brilliant idea. The meeting agenda document already exists in a Microsoft Office Word document, which I can easily send to everyone. Like I'll send it to the 8 of you if you're all like, yes. And then you would just put, you know, the Masters BNI or, you know, Tuesdays at, you know, and it's not a huge difference. In fact, I want to bring up some things today about maybe making our meetings a little closer to the in-person experience, but we'll get to that. Do you feel like we've covered what a visitor needs?
I think the only other thing I would add, and to clarify, the mistakes were made in the in-person meetings when we, you know, they weren't seeing the colors of the form. So I think it's a lot easier to be accurate when you're not allowed to speak until you're brought online. But my comment that I would like to add is considering expectations. Like I give probably 50 times the number of referrals that have come to me. But I've recognized that that's because people don't know me well enough yet. We're building trust. But my expectations were, according to the Giver's Gain, that maybe 1 every 10, somebody might bring me some business. So and I have to look at myself and ask why, because I know I'm building a website and that helps. But I think those expectations are really, really important, because if a person's not plugged in and they don't have that expectations met of the gain part, maybe they're a giver, but they haven't gained part yet. I think that expectation has to be really clearly described.
So what other expectations might they have? Go ahead, Roseanne.
One thing, we had our leadership team meeting this morning, and so it came up, but I've been to a couple of the meetings, and one of the things that's been very frustrating and also came up in our stakeholders meeting last month is that as members, we have a very difficult time trying to figure out the visitors, their contact information, because we're not getting the business cards that go around. So some of the chapters have been they have another section after the members of the visitors on there, and it is very helpful, and we're going to start doing that in our chapter. That's another way to help them feel included. It also makes it easy when a member wants to contact someone. I mean, frankly, if it's going to take me 10 steps that I have to try and figure out how to contact them, it's not going to happen.
We're doing that on ours, Roseanne, and you're right, it's awesome. Not only does it help them feel like, oh, my name's already there, you already knew I'm here, like, but, oh, here's all the contact info for the ones, because you're right, there's no time to get that contact info.
So let's move this conversation to where this workshop is really intended to go, and that is the idea generation. What things can we do to support our visitors in this online environment? So you can see the bottom of this page, it says our BNI online meetings. What can we do before our meetings? What can we do during our meetings? What things should we not do in our meetings? And what things can we do after our meetings? So we've got 30 minutes to talk through ideas. Now, again, I've shared this document with you. I will email it to you afterwards. You can print out, because you have full editing privileges, so you can print this out or save a copy of it on your own computer. I won't be changing this document. So when we do this workshop again on June 19th and again on July 2nd, where new and different ideas I'm sure will come about, I won't erase this document that you have the original notes. Now, before we dig into the things we can do, please note, there's going to be a lot of ideas here. I'm not expecting, nor do I think anyone is expecting us to institute all of these concepts. What I'm hoping is that a handful of these concepts will make your heart sing, and you'll see the impact you can make on these strangers in the hopes that they feel more welcome, they hire you for your services or your products, they come back to another meeting, or they're interested in membership, and if not with your chapter, maybe with a sister chapter, which is what we also need to start creating, a little bit more of a, we're part of BNI Vermont, and even though they can't apply to Queen City BNI, we would like to refer them to Prosperity or Integrity or the Masters, or, you know, or you know what, maybe there's only one chapter in the area, let's help them, we'll put them in touch with BNI Vermont so they can start their own chapter, which will help all of us. So let's start brainstorming before the meeting even starts. We're not talking breakout rooms, we're talking like there's no online meeting. What's happening before our meetings? Now, I did stick a couple ideas you had here. Send a PDF of the weekly BNI meeting agenda, and getting visitors' names, businesses, and contact information into the actual weekly handout. What other ideas do we have for prior to the meeting to meet our visitors' needs and wants?
I prepared a story for the people that I invited.
Say that again?
I prepared a story for the people that I invited. So I shared my story that, you know, in the first 6 weeks of being in BNI, I made 10 times my membership in business and referrals. So that's a great story. You know, Eric Kolomaznik, other people have great stories where they can say, you know, this much of my business is generated from BNI. So the before prep for me is just to always have my story ready.
Nice.
Did I speak over Stephanie? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I was trying to remember what I was gonna say. Like our visitors host team usually touches base now before every meeting just to look over our, like, who we're expecting as a visitor and kind of strategically figure out which breakout room they should be going into in the beginning. That way, like, you know, if they're in home services, like, we can put them with like Richard, Heather, whoever. Yeah, so just like, and sometimes we get visitors that don't really register, they just kind of pop in, so it's like, oh, but at least we're prepared for the majority of them.
Quick question before we move on to another idea. Can you raise your hand if you know about the pre-registration visitor list in BNI Connect? Can you raise your hand if you know about that? All right, so everybody else, it's open to all BNI members. This is not hidden information only available to visitor hosts. If any of us log on to BNI Connect, not the app, the website, and click on reports, one of the reports says pre-meeting or pre-registration visitor list, and that'll give you a list of every visitor registered for the future of your meeting. So whether it's Monday's meeting or next Monday's meeting or in 6 months, if somebody's registered that far out, it'll show up on that report. Go ahead, Roseanne.
So in the BNI app, they have it updated. So when you log on, and I don't know, it's going to be funky. When you log on, that top box that says next week's meeting, when you click on the little I to the right of it, it will bring up a summary including the visitors that are registered for your next meeting.
What was that button again?
So at the top, you'll see it says, I don't know if I can get it right, next meeting.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And then there's an I to the right of it, like an eyeball. You press on that eyeball and it tells you what's going on for the next meeting. So it'll have your speaker and it'll have the list of visitors. So you don't even have to get on a real computer anymore.
I never knew that was there.
That's amazing.
I can't even tell you, you just
found it
blew my
a couple of
mind.
weeks ago, and it is awesome.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And that means, again, the report through BNI Connect or what you just ran, Roseanne, this is not proprietary information. All of the contact information for your visitors that are coming or have come in the past is available through reports, either through BNI Connect or it looks like you have a future thing. That is, BNI just keeps up in the game. Way to go, BNI.
Well, I used to do all this stuff at work on my monitors because it's bigger, and I'd be on BNI Connect online all the time. I rarely use the app. Now that I'm at home 2 or 3 days a week, I want to do stuff, and I've been messing around with it more. I'm like, oh, what's this? What's this? And I just saw that a couple of weeks ago. I was like, this is awesome.
That is.
Smart.
Well, I mean, even more so is a push to have people use this app. I mean, I've always used this app. It's much easier. That I do everything from this app.
Right.
But what a push to be like, oh, you don't use this? Well, this is a great way for you to see those visitors. I would be interested, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Can you go back, or is it just the weeks? Is there any way in here that you've played around that you can see visitors from?
All I've looked for is that, but
Okay.
and then if you click on visitors at the bottom, you can invite, register, and register yourself for another meeting and register a visitor for your meeting, that kind of stuff. I haven't seen a lot of, they don't have a thing like with reports.
Right. But I mean, that one thing is an absolute game changer.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So what else can we do before the meeting even starts? All right, I've got one.
I know
Oh,
that
Julie.
that we have all the visitors right there, you know, name and profession and all that.
That's during the meeting.
Well, that's during. Sorry, you're right. I was thinking before they spoke. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Oh, no. I think it's good stuff.
I have one. So for contact spheres, inviting a person and then letting other people in advance know, I'm bringing a guest. The guest is from this profession. Please make sure you come and introduce yourself because I think you guys would have some synergy. So planning ahead to connect the visitor to people and letting the BNI members know, when you see me, please come over because I want you to meet my guest.
Right.
I think Kate was doing it. Yeah. Kate was sending an email to the visitors like, hey, thank you for registering. Our meeting is this. But she was also, for a while, and I don't know if she's still doing or not, because no one's been kind of in my sphere, but she was CCing someone in that contact sphere in the welcome email to the visitor. So that was the trigger for our member to be like, ooh, Scott's coming and he's in my sphere because Kate included me on this email. And I think Molly's nodding her head. She's still doing that, right? So that's a good cue for folks.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
Also, just the president's email before the meeting in general is a really great way to connect with the visitor, making sure that they have the right Zoom link so that way and they're really prepared to get on the online environment.
Good idea.
Something else that came to mind was, and I think I only know this because I'm on the back end of BNI, so I get some conflict experiences that I don't think most of you see. I've noticed that a visitor will register for a meeting, but nobody will respond to the pre-registration email right away. So a day or two later, the visitor will email and say, hi, I haven't received any login information. And then BNI support sends them an email back and says, okay, well, we've CC'd the president of the chapter on this email. So I actually think that one of the best practices we could do is that the minute a visitor host team member or the president, somebody is assigned, the minute that email pops in their inbox to say Vicki Wasick is registered, that they already have an email out to that person within an hour, unless it's after hours, that says, thank you so much for registering. Here's the link to our meeting this Thursday. We will be in touch again with a couple handouts, a brag sheet for our chapter, an agenda for the meeting, and a weekly handout with the details of our membership as well as our other guests. You'll get that around 5 o'clock the day before our meeting. But I think a very, very timely response to a registration.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Of course you can.
Coming from a president role.
Yes.
It was, and other people could, but it was much easier to do them all at one time.
Correct. But in this
Monday morning, you know what I mean? Yeah, I know, and I get it, but if you get a lot of visitors, I just want people to understand that that might be a lot of emails kind of. So if you don't time block and do them, like that's on Monday morning they went out. So
I think personally, oh, I froze. Great.
Thought that some people will be.
So when someone registers in the leadership team, who all gets the email?
I think the president, the VP, I'm not sure if the VP gets it. The president definitely gets it. But I don't know if all three do.
So all three on the leadership team, the director consultant, and the entire visitor host team. Okay, my suggestion then is we delegate and someone from the visitor host team is responsible for that. They have a lot, they have a lot less to do on visitor hosts. It's different, I know that. In some ways it's more, in some ways it's less, but there's a lot less going on in the online because you're not having to get to the meeting at like for us at 7 o'clock and stuff like that. You're not setting up a table, so to speak. Someone from the visitor host team should be able to respond to those in a timely manner.
I haven't gotten any of those emails, and I'm on visitor host team.
Oh, I just got informed yesterday that you were on the team, so I turned on your visitor host access yesterday.
Okay, that's it.
The Masters is already doing that. I delegated it off to our visitor host coordinator to take care of all things visitor related. They even send the initial email that says thanks for registering, blah, 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 blah. I composed the email as the president for them and literally gave it to Kate. And then when COVID hit, because Kate's also a nurse, she was having trouble getting those emails out. And I said, you have 3 other hosts that can help you. When that does, if that fails, then come back to me. I mean that in the most loving way.
It makes sense.
So I don't think this email has to be, I really think it's just a registration email came in. hi, my name is Steve. I'm one of the greeters for this group. This is a short email to provide you the link to our meeting on Thursday morning. Please stay tuned. Our president, or whoever it is, our so-and-so will be emailing you around 4 or 5 o'clock the day before with important attachments, and to reiterate the link for the, thank you so much. We greatly look forward to seeing you in 3 weeks when they're registered, or this Thursday, or it doesn't have to be some major email. Although I do think that I think Molly, you said have the president send an email to everybody. Somebody said that. I do think that that formal email to the visitors needs to be visually appealing, welcoming, and instructive. Like, it meets all those kind of things at the top. It considers the visitors' expectations. So I think that there does need to be kind of a fancified, beautiful, visually beautiful, organized email that goes out to all visitors the day before the meeting, because we're in an online environment, and that's a big way of setting the expectation. I think if we're just doing an aerial single size email with "we look forward to having you," attach this email as a weekly handout, it's too bland, and it sets them up visually. If that's what they see in the email, they're going to think the online meeting is just this like 12-point Arial font rote of information.
You don't want to overwhelm them, that's for sure.
Oh yes, simple, to the point.
So do we have, out of curiosity, so that we don't have 12 plus people trying to do the exact same thing, do we have someone in BNI Vermont team or a BNI Vermont member that is a good wordsmith and make something visually appealing that then everybody can use should they so desire, instead of everybody spending the time to try and do this?
So
you want a template?
So yeah, you said that, and I'm like, Diane, Jody, Jody
Lawrence.
If you're interested, Diane, are you interested? Because you have a lot of experience with this, don't you?
Experience creating templates?
Oh no, okay. Well,
I'm not a good graphic designer. I'm great for content. I'm words, but I don't know how to make things in terms of technology pretty. I think
Jody might be a good thought.
What if we do this? What if I put something together and put it in Jody's lap? And since Jody works really closely with her graphic designer in her chapter, Lisa, why don't I see if Lisa might be willing to put a beautiful spin on it, something that would be replicatable through SurveyMonkey, Outlook, Gmail, so anyone could just cut and paste it in. Is that appealing?
I'd be glad to help with the word part, for sure.
Thanks. Okay. I will book some time, put that together.
When you say make it pretty, are you talking about putting an attachment inside the email, or having the text and the content of the actual email be pretty?
Okay.
That's the harder way to go.
I'm talking about the email itself. Well, like, for example, look at the page you're looking at on your computer right now. The header, our BNI online meetings. It's bold, it's larger font because it's the header, and then the call to action I have italiced and blued to stand out, and then the details. This is what I'm talking about, because I must admit, as I've attended your BNI meetings, and I say your as in all 12 chapters in the state, the emails I get from your visitor host team are bland. Like, there's not really, even your presidents are sending emails with information that's helpful, but it doesn't say we're a professional group. It just says, hey, I'm a person sending you an email. Again, 12-point font Arial. It's not that they're not impactful. I think it's just that if we're going to make our online meetings better, the one things we can do before the meeting is up the visual ante for our president emails. So that won't take me long to create. So I'll send that off to Jody, Diane, and Lisa, although we've kind of volunteered Jody and Lisa, but they can easily say no. And I'll encourage them to say no if it's not a good fit.
I'm texting Jody.
Okay. And maybe Lisa. So she's, I just assume because they are members of the same chapter, they would probably work best together. Anything else you can think of before? Again, the meeting hasn't even started. Anything else you'd add?
Be enthusiastic.
I'm going to muddy the...
Go ahead, Diane.
Be enthusiastic. I think sometimes people get tired. They get invitation fatigue, or they're hitting a slump in their own business, and that comes out in the tone of their voice. It comes out in how they, interact with people. So just keep that enthusiasm.
I'm going to muddy the waters, and I'm not saying that this is a good idea, and I'm certainly not volunteering myself to do this, but One thing that's happening within my industry that is making waves and becoming very impactful for prospecting, lead generation, client retention is video emails.
Oh,
Molly's the best.
yep.
Not that I'm volunteering Molly.
The video emails are pretty impactful. They don't need to be very long.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it could be like a 30-second. The initial one could be a 30-second, thanks for registering. It'd be nice if you could actually call them by name, but that means you got to do one for every visitor. But if the initial one could just say, thanks for registering for blah, 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 from one person from the chapter, and that's what goes out, and let them know what to be prepared for. And then the second email can go out the day or two before the meeting with everything that they need. Then you're done.
So check this
Mickey
out.
loves doing those things.
Check this out. Can you see my screen? I went to a BNI meeting. I went to a BNI meeting in Australia, and this is what they sent me.
BNI City Corporate Chapter Visitor Orientation video. My name is Joel Bunkle. I'm one of the members of the group here. Given that we're not doing face-to-face meetings at the moment, we've moved our networking meetings online for the time being.
Now, the problem is it's 9 minutes long. Okay, but agenda, how the meeting is run, which he talks for a while, how to attend the meeting, how to participate with the mute buttons and how to share, the video button. And so what I think this is actually kind of a brilliant idea. I'll actually copy this link and put it down here.
It's also good for the type Cs, the people, because part of the issue around visitors is, or like the platinum rule, whatever, it's especially harder in an online environment to understand everybody's personality, because you don't have at these thumbnails, you don't have all the body language that you usually get. And some of the people, the lighting is so bad you can barely tell like if they're engaged or, all of that kind of stuff. So that video, even though most people are going to be like, yeah, 9 minutes, I'm never going to watch it. 15 to 20% of our visitors, that's exactly what they're looking for, because they want all the data as possible.
Now, here's the bummer about this. This is the email they sent me. See? Arial, 12 font, blah, 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 blah. How could, the orientation video was awesome. And I thought to myself, if they had made the email visually appealing and they said, please enjoy this 60-second welcome from our president. And it's the same one. The president makes a quick email. My name is Nick Martin. I have the whatever, la, 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 la. And then please click here for an instructional video on how to access our meeting and what the meeting will be like for you. And again, if you've got a member in your chapter, it doesn't have to be the person sending this email. If you've got a member that would be willing to take some screenshots of the PowerPoints, to go through the agenda and make a 9-minute video. I watched that whole video before I went to Melbourne's meeting, and I'm a BNI meeting member or executive. So very cool.
I think I like the option. I like the short video that you said, like a welcome, but then it could be when the email goes out from the president, like we've attached a longer video for you that tells you, and this is what it goes over. Feel free to watch it. You don't want to make them watch a 9-minute video if you just want to say welcome, if that's all they want to hear. But you want to give them the opportunity, if they want to watch the 9-minute video or however long it ends up being, that it's there. We can't, you can lead a horse to water,
Yes.
But
yep. And what else?
The other part, I'm sorry, who did I just speak over?
No, go ahead, Diane.
I think the other piece of this is personal preference. Mm-hmm. And sensory overload. Everybody's kind of zoomed out, they're kind of talking about zombies instead of zombies, and people are getting zoomed out. So for me, I don't gravitate towards certain kinds of visuals, like dark red font doesn't draw me there. It actually makes me go, whoa, something bad must have happened. Yellow highlighting is really effective, but it doesn't necessarily draw me in. It makes me kind of fight or flight. So I think there's a personal preferences around how these things. So if we can meet in the middle somewhere, we'll be more sensitive to sensory overload.
So we have 11 minutes to finish this conversation. So I'm going to time us at 5 minutes for the next part, 3 minutes for what not to do, 2 minutes for what not to do, and 3 minutes for what to do after the meeting. So we've got 5 minutes. What things can we do in our meeting? The minute the president opens that Zoom room, what are we doing in the meeting to meet our visitors' needs and wants? We have had visitors put their name, profession, and contact information in the chat, be enthusiastic during the meeting, and then go. What else?
So smile, head up, good posture.
So what we're going to be trying next week is that, so before the visitors, when they come in, before they are moved into the breakout rooms, to put their profession and stuff into the chat box. So, because a lot of times we say it during the meeting and it just gets lost. So they're not allowed to go into a breakout room until they put their information in the chat, basically.
Got it.
Yeah.
What else?
Visibly have your body language pay attention. In my BNI, you see a lot of people doing this, like they're clearly doing something else during the meeting. That's what you see.
FYI, Jody's into beautifying an email.
Or this. I don't want to see anybody on a Zoom call like this. So, you know, pay attention.
Well, the non-videos are the other ones that we have, people are in and out, and it's and it's the same as like if you're going to get up because you have to use the restroom. It's the same as if you're in a regular meeting because it's 90 minutes and it happens. However, I've noticed in our meetings, it seems like it's the same people and they're out for like 20, 30 minutes as far as the video. And that's horrible.
I think the only other challenge with that is people with bad reception.
Of course.
That's the challenge, is if deciding if you're going to ask them if you have an issue with your internet. Because when I take my video, my internet is stronger. So that's a tough one in some cases. But I agree with you.
We've got 3 minutes left on this topic. What can we do during the meeting to help our visitors?
I think we're also going to try doing, just like as we did in the regular meetings, kind of introducing visitor host team, introducing the visitors out loud at the beginning of the meeting.
Nice. Yeah, I really like that.
Asking direct questions. My favorite is, how can I support your business? Try to ask half the group that each week. How can I be supporting your business?
I'm going to go back to one of the things that Roseanne just mentioned about staying in the video the entire 90 minutes. In a virtual atmosphere, especially with kids not being, well, being homeschooled, and some of us have, you know, single family homes and things like that, that's not always possible. So being empathetic to that, I think, is actually a positive thing, that it's still, it's not a, you know, open, closed kind of thing.
And, you know, you can remedy that, the empathy piece, by saying at the beginning of the meeting, we please ask everybody to keep your webcam on. Please do not go in and out. We also recognize that a lot of us are caring for our families during this time of physical isolation. And we understand if you have to leave for a moment to care for the children or an aging family member, we understand. So thank you for staying in the video with us for 90 minutes, if possible. So you kind of set the expectation and already give them an out if they have to take care of their family. Yeah. What else can we do in our BNI meetings? I've got a whole list of ideas. You want me to just start rattling them off?
Yeah.
Members showing up early.
I thought that was a good one.
Showing up 10 minutes on early and there's like 3 people on the call. That stinks so much. The president runs a timely meeting.
Yes.
So how the president runs the meeting. I also think that the president runs a meeting that's easy to understand. So they really explain every part of the agenda. I also have clapping. Isn't that odd? I went to Berlin, the chapter in Berlin, Crossroads BNI, and every single weekly presentation, members went like this. But the visual was so incredible. And I was just like, man, we got to get our chapters clapping, because you can't show the enthusiasm in this two-dimensional world, but you sure can with silent clapping. I loved the silent clap.
We do that in ours, or I do anyway. I think everybody does. I'm always looking at myself. I'm always looking at myself when I'm doing it to make sure my hands are in front of the camera.
Queen City's been clapping for years, so
Yeah.
we just took it online. I would say too.
I like the virtual fist bump.
Well, I'm an elbow maybe.
Bam. Bam.
So the other thing too is, because I've seen different meetings is, and this is hard for presidents to run this meeting in this environment, because their energy level has to be so high all the time. So I've talked to some presidents, they have to focus on that energy level, because they're the ones, their energy level can kind of seep into everyone else. So if they have things that are sucking on their energy level, they need to delegate those, whatever that happens to be. It's very hard. I think Kate's done a great job. You get Kate's personality through Zoom, which is hard. But some people are still struggling with how to do that. So I think really letting presidents know that if your energy level was here before, it's got to be here, because you're trying to get it through a virtual world.
I think also just like being honest with everybody too, and like things are, not in a great situation right now. I mean, like they haven't been for several months, and not trying to kind of like mask it over, just being like, everything's great, like meetings are super. I mean, they are obviously, but like, but just kind of like being real, like having that like genuine energy, I think is like a huge thing too, because we're all experiencing the same thing together. So.
All right, so you see I'm adding a bunch of stuff dressed for the meeting. If I see another member in t-shirts, I'm gonna cry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to get rid of those, and the baseball hats. One of the things that our president has done is that he's got the VP in as co-host, so he actually manages the slides and moving things through, so that Nick can just keep the energy high and focus on that piece of it. And you can tell a huge difference now that he's not, what you just said, Aaron, now that he's not having to do that, makes a huge difference.
Nice.
And same thing, he also turned over, it was hard to keep up. He doesn't pay attention to the chat box. So he does tell people that in the beginning, like that someone is looking at it, but it's not him. And then he also has the visitor host coordinator actually introduces the visitors.
Yep.
So he put a slide in, because the first couple weeks he was doing all of that too, and it's just too much.
All right.
Vicki just wrote that thank you for closed business piece, like totaling what everyone says as they go around, and Berlin did this, and that's when I first saw it, and I thought it was really, really good. And Molly's started to do it now. We've done it for several weeks. I think it's huge. It's just one more like piece of, for the visitor to hear what's happening week to week.
So, all right. These are just some of the other things that I'd kind of collected. And then I think probably the most important thing we could do is create your visitor orientation. I don't think a lot of chapters are actually asking visitors, would you like an application for an interview? Why aren't we asking them? And
Close
I think,
the sale.
huh?
Close the sale.
I mean, you didn't, it's like going to a client's house and being like, here are all the things I can do for you. Thank you so much. Have a great day. It's like, no, here are all the things I can do for you. I just spent an hour. Do you have any interest in meeting up again, talking more? Would you like to do this? Like, yeah. All right. So with our 1 minute left, what are things we should not be doing in our meeting that breaks our visitors' needs and wants? So don't go out of the video if possible.
Everything above. Or not do everything above. No, just kidding.
No
Sorry.
gym clothes unless you're a trainer.
Huh?
No gym clothes unless you're a trainer.
What else?
I think the monotone voices of the leadership team is really a drag on the enthusiasm. So again, to the energy, I don't know whose job it is to coach that, but we have some very monotone voices, and you could tell they hate the online format. So don't let, if you hate the online format, do not let that come through.
Correct.
Agreed. Hey, out of curiosity, how many of you here on this call right now can see yourself in the gallery view? Raise your hand. Can you see yourself? Okay, I can't. I can see 7 of you, but I cannot see myself. And the reason that is because I right-clicked on my video and I chose hide self view. What I found is when I cannot see myself, I am significantly more attentive. So members literally watch themselves, and it's awful. It's a huge distraction. It's like going to a BNI meeting with a mirror in front of you the entire time. So please encourage your members to start using the hide self view option. I think people will get better experiences. What else we got for at the meeting? I've got another one. Let's see.
Meet their surpass their expectations. You know, the value promise that we shared, that value proposition promise, meet that as much as possible.
Meet that expectation.
Ideally, surpass it.
Did you write don't share screen with presenters as don't do?
Yes. Okay, so watch yourself. Don't watch yourself. Don't share screen with presenters.
Why?
Oh, okay. Because I've been to several BNI online meetings where the president shared the screen with somebody else, and they spent 4 minutes trying to get their screen to show.
See, I would say, as someone who presented, not having control of the screen made it very jerky for the presentation.
The solution to that is the president does share mouse controls with Aaron Perrin. And you can literally choose from your participants.
Oh, yeah, that's what we do, right, Molly? We just share controls. Okay, all right. I got totally confused. Okay.
Nice.
Wait, yeah, can I understand this too? So you're talking about like the 10-minute presentations?
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna throw myself and I hope not my whole team, under a bus, because it drives me insane. If we're doing our 10-minute presentation, I have to ask, okay, change slide.
No.
So you mean you have to do that?
Instead, have the, thank you.
Thank you.
Instead, have the president select your name and say share mouse control. And what that'll do is it'll allow your mouse to control his or her screen.
Select my name, choose.
Share mouse control.
Don't think he knows how, oh wait, does that matter because he's on Mac? There's another thing that you can't do. We can't do like YouTube or videos because
some of those things don't work, but the Zoom software is the same. Polling is the same. Breakout rooms are the same. Sharing mouse controls are the same. It's all the same software on Mac or PC. Thank goodness.
I have one.
Which is good because it takes time, you know, you're like,
yeah.
Okay, next slide. And it seems kind of like,
yeah. Go ahead, Diane.
Yeah. Don't experiment with humor.
Oh.
What was that?
Don't experiment with humor.
We just need to be aware of how a visitor interprets humor. And it's like, oh, it's a coffee club.
Well, and I think a lot of so in normal open networking where you have 2 or 3 people over here, 2 or 3 people over here, there's a lot of just inside jokes, not in a bad way, but comments or different things that are made. But when you're in this environment, even though I may only say something to Steve, all of you can hear it.
Well, I'm getting a little tired of people asking if they're wearing their trousers, and I'm only saying that because there's so few of us here. But you know, there are some running gags in certain groups, and I'm just getting a little tired of that. And I'm
Yeah.
probably going to email somebody and say something next time. But for a visitor, that's an experiment with humor that's a risk.
And I think that's what happens when something, you know, with coaching people as much as I do, it is so hard for change, right? And people don't realize, like, exactly that. I don't want to hear about if you guys are wearing trousers or not. I mean, I would hope you are. We're at a business meeting.
We've got to wonder why nobody's applying for membership right now.
People don't really think that, yeah.
And it might be because we're making our visitors so uncomfortable that they just want to survive the meeting.
Right, shock value humor. So I think it would be very helpful for us to review that at some point, just to figure that out.
Yeah. So it is 5 minutes after 1. I'm very sorry. Yes, Steve, go ahead.
I got a boogie. I have a 1 o'clock that I'm late for.
Thank you, Steve. Head out. For anybody who's around, I'm going to give us 2 minutes on this topic because I also have an appointment. Thank you so much, Steve. I'll send out the recording. What are we?
Thank you. This is great.
Yay! Excellent. So what are the things we can do after our meeting to meet our visitors' needs and expectations? And let's just, no stories, let's just get some ideas out that we can leverage for our meetings.
One-to-ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
Follow up with the visitors.
And what kind of follow-up?
Email.
Yep.
Is usually the best. Or if you invited them, you could text them or call them.
You guys are still doing thank you cards too, right?
Yes.
We're doing the breakout. We're moving the visitors into a breakout room afterwards with a handful of members, including our closing person for our chapter. And we're because we're doing a targeted visitors day for specifically 8 professions in a couple weeks. And we're going to coordinate different breakout rooms. Hopefully we have enough visitors that we have different breakout rooms so that we have 2 or 3 members per 4 or 5 visitors. That then they can actually have some conversations, answer questions, and would you like an application?
I like the idea of you having a closer. That's fantastic. I mean, certain people can do it better than others.
And he's been coming to meetings, our leadership team meetings. So we'll see how, well, by the end of this month, beginning of July, we'll see if it worked or not. So Vicki, is there a way to get to all the secretary treasurers the QR codes and the links that you put in here that have to do with payment and application? Because I think that's one of the things that would be very beneficial while they're reading the, at the end of the meeting, when they go through getting ready to, like, thank you visitors for coming, this is how you apply, et cetera, et cetera. If that were either in the chat box or on the slide where they can take a picture of it with their phone, I think that that adds not only the visual, but that we're serious about, because it's one thing to say you can go online, but people aren't going to write down BNI Vermont as fast as we're saying that stuff at the end.
Correct. I just opened an email to Secretary Treasurers. I can do that. What else can we do to meet our visitors' needs and wants? They want to make money. How are we helping them do that?
Well, I'm calling one of our visitors to get a quote today.
One of the things that one person who's not a member actually did for me is she sent out a series of warm introduction emails and connected me to about 15 people, which I thought was phenomenal. That was
What were you going to say, Julie?
It brought me to the training that I went to that you did, where you had I think of this every time we get to this part of finding out what their need is, and really, I guess when that happens would make a difference. So for me, I mean, my opinion, I would want to do it right in the the breakout rooms maybe, you know, of finding out what that is, because somebody, yeah, it might be obviously making money, but maybe they do want to get their name out there. Maybe it is to, I don't know, they need to hire people, maybe whatever, all of those. I can't remember, I'm sorry, I can't remember all of your papers you had around the room, but that was good. That was exactly it. And finding out which one of those, and then setting them, you know,
You're talking
knowing
about
what conversation to have.
You're talking about the how to invite visitors, and there's so many different ways to invite visitors. I'm going to include a link to that document, how to invite visitors. There's like 17 different ways to invite visitors.
Yeah.
Those are the different whys that visitors might come beyond money. And I will include a link to that here. And then send out a warm introduction email to introduce visitors to people they can network with to help them grow their business. Brilliant. It's kind of like the action before the meeting that one of you said, being like looking at the visitor registration link and thinking list and thinking, how can we leverage each of these people individually? This is like a post-meeting follow-up. Who came and who can we introduce them to? And we have to balance that, by the way, with the don't give them everything, but give them enough that they can see the huge opportunity that they have by applying for an interview and becoming a referral partner with this group. Yeah. There is more than what we've shared here. Okay. I encourage you, if you'd like, to come to our June 19th and July 2nd, because those will have different people with different ideas. When all of these are done, I will compile them into something a little bit more useful and distribute them to the state of Vermont, I think, through the newsletter is my goal in July. But after this call is over, I will send you a link, a PDF of these notes, or a Word doc of these notes. I will send you the how to invite visitors to a BNI meeting. I will be contacting some folks to set up a president email. And I will, there was something else, be emailing the secretaries with the links and the QR codes. Anything else that we can talk about? It's 12 past and I don't like going over time, so I apologize for that.
No, like I said, Jody said she would help. Just reach out. She's like, I can't do it today, but I could do it this weekend. I'm like, no.
I can't
coming up.
That fast.
I mean, I appreciate your enthusiasm, Jody, but no, Vicki will be in touch.
Did you include the link to that, the Aussie video?
I will. When I create the mock email, I'll probably create a mock president's email. Hello, my name is Vicki Wasik. I'm the president of
that would be great.
Fire BNI. It is a pleasure. Yeah, I'll create some kind of 60-second welcome video. I'll include the introduction video that Melbourne, Australia sent me. I'll go all out. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Have a great rest
Thanks
of
for
your day.
doing this, Vicki. Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.